Qatar are the only team in the 2022 Qatar World Cup to not really have a well-known squad for at least one or two players. So we looked into who the Qatar squad really are. And the 11 players you can see in the photo right here, we are going to identify them the best we can for who they are and who they play for, and are they actually fully Qatarian. We're going to go from the goalkeeper all the way to the striker, and then have a very quick look at how good the Qatar national team actually have been in recent weeks. The upside to this is actually knowing a little bit more about the host country of our next World Cup. Number 1. The goalkeeper, Michel Basham. Michel Basham is a 23-year-old goalkeeper who is Qatar's preferred number 1. He plays for Al Sadd SC in the Qatar League. Michel Basham is the regular Qatar goalkeeper, and he is only at the age of 24, which you'll soon see is the fairly average age of most players in this list. Basham has kept a fairly decent amount of clean sheets and is mainly preferred over to their second goalkeeper, who is not mentioned as we could not find a second Qatar goalkeeper. He is fully Qatarian, unlike one of the next players that will be mentioned in just a moment. Keep in mind of the second one here. Number 2, Bassam Aldawawi. The photo is not amazing, but it's the best we could do. This 24-year-old centre back plays for Al Ahly SC and is fully Qatarian. As the second player in this list, he's 24 years old and he plays in the Qatarian League. Whether all these players play in the Qatarian League, we'll find out, but he's played for Qatar one of the longest out of all of these players. However, he plays as a right back and centre back position, but he can also play in midfield positions. He's also been in the 2010 Asian Cup final, which Qatar ended up winning. Keep an eye out for our next player, which might surprise you. Bilam Nokati. Bilam Nokati is a 30-year-old centre back who plays as well for Al Sadd SC, but he was born in Algeria. However, we found out he has Qatarian roots, so he chose Qatar. However, like a few players in this list, they had to get permission to play for Qatar, but in a couple of years ago, he might not have been able to play for Qatar. You will see in the very near future a lot of these players play for Al Sadd SC in the Qatarian League. Being the only Algerian player in this list, I think he should get a special mention for playing for maybe one of the underdogs in this World Cup. Mainly because Algeria had a shocker of an AFCON, he might have switched to Qatar. Number 4, Tarek Solomon. The 24-year-old, again, Al Sadd SC, is amongst the 24-year-old average squad. Most of these players are 24 or 31 years old, so whether it was illegal to be like a different age to 24 and 31, and we'll never know. However, Tarek Solomon is 24 years old and plays left back for Al Sadd SC. He's fully Qatarian, and unlike most of these players, probably looks the most happiest to be in a Qatar shirt. As you will see, that is the Qatar shirt as well for the 2022 World Cup, sponsored by Qatar Airways. Number 5, Pedro Miguel. The information is already on the right side as we couldn't quite zoom in enough to get rid of that. But oh well. Pedro Miguel is a 31-year-old central midfielder who also plays for Al Sadd SC. But the funny thing for him, it says his nationality is Qatarian, but in fact he was born in Cape Verde and is referred to Cape Verdean on his Google stats. Pedro Miguel is also a centre midfielder and, funnily enough, a 31-year-old player. Although there it says he's defender, in the previous couple of games it did say he played midfield. But either way, there's another player right there that plays for Al Sadd SC. Number 6. Kamba El Asalada Ali Asalada is a 29-year-old midfielder who plays for Al Sadd SC, but was actually born in Manama, which is also in the country of Bahrain. Again, most of the information is on the right hand side, but we've got it here anyway. He plays midfield for the most, obviously, common squad that you'll hear in Qatar, probably. He's the first 29-year-old player to make this list, and I think that deserves him a round of applause. He's not a very popular player, as it was not easy to track anything down. But in all fairness to him, he looks like he's quite happy to play for Qatar. Number 7. Karim Boudaf. Karim Boudaf probably has the best photo out of everyone, and probably is one of the best players. Now I know the name sounds French, and that will be explained in a second. He's another 31-year-old midfielder who has played for the same team as Bassam Aldawawi, which is namely Al Duhali. And the reason his name sounds French is because he's French and Algerian. Now you'd probably think, why don't you play for France or Algeria? But he's staying loyal to his Qatarian roots, which you've got to show a little bit of respect for, to be fair. But once again, another 31-year-old player makes this list. Honestly, you probably could compare him to Karim Benzema if you look at the identical C. Number 8. Homan Ahmed. Homan Ahmed was the first 22-year-old to make this list. Funnily enough for him, he also plays for the same team as Karim Boudaf, which is Al Duhali. He is also the only player in this list to be 22. Spoiler alert, none of the other players are younger than that. And he's also the youngest player to make this list, and might even be the youngest player in the whole of the Qatar team. Obviously we didn't go and look at every player in their list, but I'm sure in the very near future we'll be looking more into that. But fair play to Homan Ahmed, being only 22, getting in the starting lineup more than some of the bench players. Number 9. Hazam Shihata. Hazam Shihata is a 24-year-old centre midfielder who plays for Al Haraka, and is the only player in this list to do so. Now the untrained eye might think that doesn't look like a Qatar kit. That's probably because it's not. It looks more like a Melbourne City, but however, I checked the transfer markets and he never played for Melbourne City. He's fully Qatarian, and again he's another 24-year-old player to make this list. He's played for Qatar national team his whole life. Now I couldn't really find any details on Al Haraka as a team itself, and I'm sure they're fairly good in the Qatarian Super League. Akram Afif. Akram Afif is a CF and a striker. He's 25 years old and plays again for Al Sadd. It feels like only 10 seconds ago that we mentioned that club, but in reality it was a few minutes ago. He's the only one of two 25-year-olds in this list to make the side. Now, if any guess, I'd make a resemblance for Willian. He does look a little bit like Willian, and there's no real information on him apart from he plays for the Qatar national team. He also plays, as mentioned, in the centre forward position, which he did in the Bulgaria game, where most of these players have been listed from. The Al Sadd striker has actually scored more goals than their actual striker, which will be mentioned. Almoz Ali. The other 25-year-old in this list was actually born in Sudan and plays for Al Duhali and is their main striker for Qatar. Almoz Ali is the 25-year-old striker you've probably been all waiting for to see who might be the main striker up front for Qatar. Well, here he is. Almoz Ali is actually Sudanese, if that is the correct term. He was born in Sudan, but he decided to play for Qatar. Now, in fact, he has to link up well with Akram Afif, who has scored more goals than him in the qualifying and friendly stages. But in all fairness to him, he does look a little bit like Hazam Shihata, and he looks like he could be a little bit of a handful for defenders when he's playing well. And that is the 11 players all sorted and identified. Looking at recent results for Qatar, a 5-0 win over the UAE, a 2-1 loss to Algeria, a penalty shootout win over Egypt, a 2-1 win over Bulgaria, and a 0-0 draw with Slovenia, I'd say Qatar are massively underrated, considering the Egyptian champions, or AFCON second place runners, were held to them in a penalty shootout. But now at least, all of these players have been identified, and we now know who they are, who they play for, and what they might and might not be able to accomplish in the 2022 FIFA World Cup.